Okay, so today we'll be looking at persuasive speech. So you have actually learned what informative speech is. You have actually acquired the knowledge on what a pitching is. So this is in regarding your final assessment, which is the submission of persuasive speech. So what you are going to learn or to discover today is what persuasive speech is, and what are the types of persuasive speech, and how can you brainstorm the topic of your persuasive speech, and how you can actually structure your persuasive speech using Monroe's motivated sequence. Now, Monroe's motivated sequence is a concept that people often use in order to structure or to construct something that is persuasive by nature. And in this case, of course, the speech. Okay, so we are going to apply the Monroe's motivated sequence in structuring our persuasive speech. So you need to really understand what Monroe's motivated sequence, apa itu Monroe's motivated sequence, supaya you can actually apply that sequence in structuring and in crafting your persuasive speech. Yeah, and if you have this in mind, is it compulsory, Mr. E, for us to include Monroe's? Yes, it is compulsory. If it is not compulsory, I wouldn't have introduced into this lecture. I do not want to burden you with something that will not be tested or is not part of the assessment. So, since this is actually a requirement for persuasive speech, you need to understand what Monroe's motivated sequence, okay, and how you can actually apply in structuring and drafting your persuasive speech. Now, persuasive speech is a speech that persuades the audience about something. Simple. Put it in a layman's term, yeah? It's basically something that persuades audience. It's a speech like any other speeches, but your purpose is to persuade a person to agree with your stance or to agree with your idea, to agree with what you think on something. So it is biased by nature, of course. Yeah. And after listening to your speech, the audience will either be persuaded or the otherwise. That depends. Okay. Now, these are some of the topics that I can share with you. Is Earth really round? So maybe you are a person who believes that the Earth is actually sphere, or the Earth is actually flat. You're a flat earther. That means you believe that the world is flat, it's not round. And you would like to persuade people to agree with your notion or to agree with your idea, all right? Or to join the cause of agreeing that the earth is actually flat and is not round, for instance. Yeah. Or begin to work. Do we need to be who we are or what they want? Sometimes people have these questions. Let's say today is your first day working in a company, in this one company, new company. So sometimes you have these questions: should I be myself or should I be a person that the company wants, but that could not be the true me, for instance? Yeah. So that is entirely up to you. Students should be given more freedom in expressing their thought on politics, which means that you are in a group of people who believe that students should be given more space, more freedom in expressing their thoughts on politics. Now, another group may oppose to your idea. They believe that no, I think we should restrict students. They should be focusing on studying. They should be focusing on learning something, learning things that are essential to their lives, for example. Yeah. So these are the things. Looking at the given sample of topics here, you know for sure there are many sides or many angles looking at one issue. Either you agree or you disagree. So you choose your stand, you choose which side you want it to be, and then you deliver it in your persuasive speech, which means the topic that you choose has to be argumentative. Simple sahaja. Argumentative means that there are more than one way looking at the topic. Kalau informative, you are not persuading a person, you're just telling a person. It's merely expressing the facts. Dia fakta sahaja. Orang pun dengar. Dari tak tahu, sekarang dia tahu. Dari tahu, dia lebih tahu. That is informative. But persuasive is more on, maybe I disagree on this idea, but after listening to your speech, I change my scale from agreeing to being a neutral, perhaps. Or if you're really persuasive, I might be changing my stand from disagreeing to that idea to agreeing to that idea completely. Pun ada juga possibility. If you have that talent where you can actually persuade a person, yeah, or you really are persuasive person, then why not? I can change, my stand daripada tak setuju kepada setuju pula. So meaning to say, the topic that you are choosing has to be argumentative, has to be biased. Ya, dia tak boleh topik yang macam there are no sides. Ya, dia tak boleh macam gitu. Dia mesti ada banyak angle looking at the topic, whether you agree or you disagree dan sebagainya. Okay. Now, there are many types of persuasive speech. You can begin by questioning some facts, like just now lah. You believe that the earth is not round or it's not sphere, it's actually flat. So although majority thinks that the earth is sphere or round, and that is a fact, and you can never question it because ada evidence dan sebagainya. Tapi you still want to argue because a fact is something that is classified by human beings juga. If I begin by telling that this is a fact, and I start to persuade people to believe this is a fact, and I pass the idea, the notion, for to the next few generations, to a point that they don't really argue anymore. They will accept that as a fact. And now you begin to question the fact, pun boleh. Or you want to question value or even policy, up to you. Now let's look at some of the examples given here. Now, if you're questioning some facts, that this type of persuasive speech allows the speaker to challenge certain matters that have been considered as facts. Tu je. Benda tu memang dah dikatakan fakta. Tapi you want to challenge that. You still believe that that is not a fact. That is just an opinion. So you want to provide more evidence to say the otherwise. Yes, of course. For example, the truth behind the great literary works during Elizabethan era, Shakespeare or someone else. Now, it's a fact that Shakespeare existed. Shakespeare has written a lot of good writings, good poems, good plays. Yeah. If you don't know who William Shakespeare is, I think something is not right. I think almost everyone knows him, or at least know who he is or who he was. Tapi there's this one group who believes that is actually Shakespeare is just a character. Is someone yang sebenarnya tak wujud. But it was actually the Queen Elizabeth, the first queen, not the second, the recently died tu bukan. The first Queen Elizabeth the First. Queen Elizabeth the First has this passion in literary writings. However, because she was the queen, and dia tak nak orang nampak dia lemah as a queen, apa kerja queen you? Tulis literature, tulis poem, tulis novel, tulis plays. So diorang tak nak lah nampak, dia pun tak nak nampak macam itu. Therefore, he created a persona, and she named the persona William Shakespeare, nama lelaki. There was a group of people who believed that that was the case before. Yeah. And you also believe, because of evidence and whatnot, and you like to challenge the fact that William Shakespeare is not a person, but rather a persona or a character invented by Queen Elizabeth the First during her time, because she was the one who wrote those plays and poems and sonnets and everything. But because she didn't want everyone to know that it was her, the queen, so she created that so-called character or persona. Or the second topic, Hang Tuah. Some people believe that Hang Tuah existed. Some people believe that Hang Tuah is just a mythological character or persona, something that was invented by the great Malay literary writer, who happens to be Tun Sri Lanang. So dia kata Tun Sri Lanang tu yang created that so-called persona. Sebenarnya Hang Tuah tak wujud pun. for example. And that's why some people who believe that hang tuah is just a myth, it's not a fact. On the ground that there are many tombs, hang tuah tombs, kubur dia terlalu banyak. They have one in apa ni, Sumatra lah. They have another, of course they have one in Melaka itself. They have another ni dekat Johor lah, banyak lah. A lot of this so-called claimed, yeah, on hang tuah's tombs. Or did man actually land on the moon? So some people believe that it was just a hoax. You know, it's not something. It's not a fact. It was a made up story by the American in the 1960s because they were in a race with Russia. Okay, because masa tu they had this Cold War and then they wanted this siapa yang akan naik, siapa yang sampai ke bulan dulu, sampai ke angkasa dulu and whatnot lah. Okay, so up to you. As long as when you deliver your persuasive speech, of course you need to use the techniques, which is Monroe's motivated sequence study yang saya mentioned in earlier, also plus with evidence and facts, because you want to convince a person, you want to convince a group of people. Yeah. Now, other than questioning a fact, you can also question values. For example, okay, kalau questions of values, this type of persuasive speech allows the speaker to challenge certain values in life. For example, capital punishment, a degrading value among civilized people. You know, capital punishment, hukum gantung sampai mati, penjara seumur hidup, stuff like that lah. So in some modern and I would say the developed and modern countries, like the Scandinavian countries like Norway, Denmark, they no longer believe in capital punishment. They believe in behavior correction. That means they believe that if we correct one's behavior and we train them to behave accordingly, then that person will change, and therefore we will not be having more murderers, robbers, lying on the streets every day. So they tak percaya pada capital punishment. And some countries also, they don't believe yang death hanging ni lah, hukum gantung sampai mati, right? Or another question of value topic is smoking. Is smoking a human rights? I still remember a long time ago when they decided that you can no longer smoke at a restaurant, you can no longer smoke in a public areas, and in an open areas, even enclosed areas pun tak boleh, dia kata macam itulah kan. And then some people believe that, hey, this is our right. Suka hatilah kita nak merokok kan. As much as you don't want to smoke, we want to smoke. So it's our right. So some people believe that it's your right to smoke. Some people believe that, no, it's not your right to smoke because majority of us don't smoke. You are among the minority. So you have to follow the majority, for example. Or teenage abortion between family simulation and a mother's right. So sometimes, yang unwedded maternity ni ataupun dia mengandung anak luar nikah ni lah. Maybe the family doesn't really want the kid or the child because dia out of wedlock lah. Tak kahwin tapi dapat anak. Tapi yang mak kepada yang tengah mengandung tu believe that it's my right, it's my child, I want to raise him or her. So it's entirely up to me contohnya. Tapi you're still underage, and some decision must be made based on the approval of the parents, stuff like that. So when you begin to question values, there are two sides looking at the same issue and you choose your stand, that is a persuasive speech. Okay. The last one is questions of policies, which means that you begin to question certain policies. For example, abusing management power, discussing workplace matters after working hours. A lot of bosses are doing that, yeah? Or 3 months leaves for fathers to be. 1 week isn't enough. In your item, it's only 1 week. right? If let's say your wife gives birth, the father gets 1 week off. Tapi 1 week, is it enough ke? So sometimes they believe that the father should also be given equally the same leave with the mother, so that they both can start to figure things out with the additional to the family members, the baby, what to do with it, where to send the baby to the nursery, this and that lah. Okay. Or going to overseas, is that your right or your privilege? Ada some people believe that in our country, the Malaysian government, if I'm not mistaken, believes that it's not your right. The government has the right to disallow you from going out from this country, or from entering to this country into this country. They can, okay, because they hold that power. So is it your right, or it's a privilege given by the government? If it is a privilege, that depends on the government. If it is your right, the government can never say no. If you want to go out, then you can go out. That's your, it's your decision. So that depends. Yeah. So these are the few things that you can actually do, to begin brainstorming the topic of your speech. Now, how to actually brainstorm the topic? Of course, somewhat similar to how you brainstorm your pitching topic as well as your informative topic. That is, you must state the general purpose, you must have a specific purpose, you must develop central idea, three ideas, yeah, or three main ideas, and then from there you can actually form a topic. So let me just share with you a sample here. Number one, to persuade. Okay, what do you want to persuade? To persuade my audience to use bicycle as the main mean of transportation in the campus. So you want to persuade your friends to use bicycle in the campus. So that is actually a very good topic. Yeah. So that is your specific purpose. So let's talk about central idea. I've talked about this so many times. Central idea is a sentence that tells the audience the three main points that you're going to deliver in your speech. So let us look at the sample given here. Using bicycle in the campus will not help to reduce traffic congestion, number one, but also to help protecting the environment, number two, as well as to reduce time consumption, number three. So these are the three things that I'll be talking about under the topic of using bicycle in the campus, right? So these are the three main topics. And of course, for each topic, I have to elaborate, provide sample examples, secondary sources to support my main points. Yeah. And then with this, I I have formed just one liner topic to attract people's attention to listen to my speech. Riding bicycle around the campus, an effective transportation. Now, if you have been a full-time student in UiTM, I guess you should understand the situation here in the main campus in UiTM Shah Alam, especially when the semester is on, where we'll be experiencing devastating, mind-boggling, this madness of traffic jams in the campus. All right, susah you nak keluar pun, it'll take like maybe roughly 30 minutes to 45 minutes for you just to exit from your item. Sometimes satulah saya kadang I avoid coming in or going out during peak hours, ya. Kalau tidak, daripada jauh lagi kereta dah, hanya kerana nak keluar saja daripada UiTM ataupun nak masuk ke dalam UiTM. So why not, if we can reduce the traffic congestion by introducing or persuading the students in UiTM, including the staff, perhaps, staff UiTM, to use bicycle instead. Tapi jenuh lah, UiTM Shah Alam ni is very hilly, berbukit bukau, sama macam UiTM Puncak Alam juga. It's very hilly. Turun bukit seronok, naik bukit tu habislah. Dapat pula macam saya ni, lagilah. Now, once you have actually developed the topic, next is for you to structure your speech. And like many other speeches, is a 5-paragraph speech, whereby the first paragraph is your introduction, second, third, and fourth paragraphs are your main points, and the fifth paragraph is your conclusion. Sama sahaja. However, the one thing that is, I would consider an extra work for persuasive speech is for you to include all 5 steps of Monroe's motivated sequence in all 5 paragraphs. Itu saja yang extra work compared to informative or pitching. Why? Because we need to use that sequence, yeah, in order for us to persuade, because it's a framework, all right, for persuasion. So let's talk about Monroe's motivated sequence. It was first developed in 1930s by Alan Monroe, a professor at the Purdue University. And the motivated sequence is tailor-made for policy speeches that seek immediate action. Because sometimes during that era where they want to implement certain things quickly, however, they need to persuade people to agree with their idea, they include Monroe's motivated sequence in the speech. So there are basically 5 steps, ada 5 steps in Monroe's motivated sequence, and they are, the first one is attention, followed by need, keperluan, followed by satisfaction, and then visualization, last but not least, action, tindakan. So there are 5 steps. And the best thing is, since you are going to structure a 5-paragraph essay, each of these 5 steps must be included in each paragraph according to the sequence. Meaning to say, attention must be included or integrated in your introduction. Need, keperluan, must be integrated in your first main point, second body paragraph. Satisfaction must be included in the third paragraph, which is the second main point. Visualization must be included in the fourth paragraph, which is the third main point. And action must be included in your final paragraph, which is the conclusion. Simple, diikut turutan yang sama. So attention dalam introduction. Need, main point number 1. Satisfaction, main point number 2. Visualization, main point number 3. And action, main point yang terakhir sekali. Okay? Sorry, in your conclusion, the last paragraph. Now, let's talk about attention. Now, attention, you gain the attention of your audience by using the following methods, meaning attention grabber. So all this while, I have been teaching you to include attention grabber in your introduction. Now, I have informed you before that attention grabber is required in all speeches. So this is persuasive speech. And since I have mentioned this before, that it is required, mandatory for you to include attention grabber. So the moment you include attention grabber in your introduction, automatically you have fulfilled the first step of Monroe's motivated sequence, which is attention, because they function the same thing. Attention in Monroe's motivated sequence sama dengan attention grabber, fungsinya sama. Alright? So this is just an example. Imagine this situation. This is in introduction. Yeah, you are at a bus stop in your campus early in the morning, wanting to go to your class on time. You waited the bus for almost half an hour when the wait could just be for 10 minutes or less. Upon the arrival of the bus, students were already lining up with a very long queue. It not until 8:30 a.m. that you arrive. It is not until 8:30 a.m. that you arrive at your class, and the class started at 8 a.m. Class starts at 8 a.m. You arrive at 8:30 a.m. So sounds familiar? So this is like giving a visual or trying to make your audience to imagine something, a situation, in order to gain their attention, using your attention grabber. This is one types of attention grabber, yeah? So automatically you dah ada attention lah in your introduction. So the moment you ada attention grabber, confirm you have fulfilled the first Monroe's motivated sequence, which is the attention. Okay. Now, next is for you to integrate need. Integrate ni maksud kena masukkan need, keperluan. Establish, perlunya ada sesuatu dalam you punya first main point tersebut. Ya. Okay. Make the audience feel a need to change. Yeah. So this is second paragraph, which is the first main point. Traffic jams on the campus can be because there are too many vehicles on the road and the size is no longer as big as it used to be. Hence, there is a need for us to change this situation. And to change this, I am persuading everyone to use bicycles in the campus. So in your second paragraph, you would like to persuade people to use bicycles in the campus because of there are too many vehicles now. Today, too many vehicles on the campus. And you use the word, there is a need for us to change the situation. What situation? Changing from having too many vehicles on the campus and to focus only on one vehicle, which is the bicycle. Alright? So, you guna perkataan a need. Ini salah satu tips yang saya boleh share. For the second paragraph, you use the word need in order to establish need of Monroe's motivated sequence in your second paragraph. Okay? So, saya nampak je perkataan need tu saya dah tahu dah. That means you have integrated the second sequence, which is need, in your first main point. Okay? And you apply the same method for satisfaction. Satisfaction is once you dah arouse a sense of need among your audience, you can satisfy your audience by providing some solutions. Yeah. So satisfaction is in your second paragraph, in your third paragraph, which is your second main point. Pun again, you nampak tak? I use the word satisfying to represent the third sequence, which is satisfaction. Imagine having a nice scenic environment free from polluted air and land. You can have this satisfying and never-ending feeling in your campus if you choose to ride bicycles instead of using public or personal vehicles. That surely will contribute very much to the air pollution. So dalam saya punya third paragraph, which is my second main point, I have integrated the third sequence, which is satisfaction. Okay? And I even use the word satisfying. Actually, not exactly the same word as satisfaction, tapi daripada kata akar yang sama, which is satisfy. So I use the word satisfying. Automatically, kalau saya dengar during a presentation, the word satisfying, satisfaction, satisfy, I should know yang you dah integrate dah benda ni dalam you punya second main point, which is your third paragraphs. Yeah. And then the same thing juga for your third main point, which is your fourth paragraph, where you include visualization. So having given your plan, you intensify by the desire for it by visualizing. What you punya audience boleh menggambarkan tentang situasi tersebut. So since my third paragraph or third main points, if you refer to my central idea here, okay, I want to talk about reduce time consumption. Yeah. So in my third main point, I want to talk about time consumption, to reduce time consumption. And I integrate dengan visualization. So how did I do it? So another point for us to visualize the advantage of riding bicycle on campus is to get ourselves to the destination in the campus on time or even earlier. I use the word visualize to represent that I have, to actually acknowledge that I have actually integrated the fourth sequence, which is visualization, in my fourth paragraph, which is my third main point. Yeah. So I even use the word visualize. So tak semestinya nak kena pakai visualization. You boleh guna perkataan yang dari root word yang sama so that to tell me, to inform Mr. E, I have actually integrated visualization in my fourth paragraph. And in your conclusion, you must integrate the fifth element or the fifth sequence, which is action. So how did I do it? So this is how to conclude. I stand here today with some firm persuasion to have all of you with me to pursue further action. And that is to have more people to join in the cause to use bicycle in the campus for reasons that I've stated earlier. Right? So I even use the word action to tell the audience that I have included the fifth element or the fifth sequence of Monroe's motivated sequence, which is action, in my final paragraph, which is my conclusion, right? And that is basically how you integrate all five elements or five sequence of Monroe's motivated sequence in your five paragraphs of your persuasive speech. Yeah. Now, you can always refer to some samples available online. How did they integrate Monroe's motivated sequence in all of their five paragraphs in order for them to structure the speech? Yeah. Now, the last slide is basically showing you the degree of persuasion. So let's say after constructing and drafting the speech, you can actually practice by delivering the speech in front of your friends ke, or your family members ke, terpulang, so that ask them to listen. But before you begin delivering the speech, you can just tell them or inform them the topic and then ask them whether they agree or disagree with the topic. Now, if let's say they strongly opposed to the topic, that means you start with strongly opposed. And then after giving, you pula is in the other group, which is you agree with the topic. So after delivering your speech, you ask them to choose. Now, after listening to my speech, where are you now? Are you moderately opposed to the topic or slightly, or you're being neutral, or now you have agreed with my idea, or you have changed to strongly in favor with the idea? Mana satu? Ask them to choose. Now, if there is a move, even one move sahaja from strongly opposed to moderately opposed, that means you have successfully persuaded that person. Ini cara untuk you tahu sama ada you dah successfully persuade a person ke tidak. Tapi masa kejadian when you deliver your speech, you don't need to ask this to your audience. Tak perlu pun. This is just part of your practice. Just to see if you have that hidden, undiscovered talent where you can actually persuade people. Who knows? Yeah. Right. So any questions so far?
Sir,
Yes.
nanti after speech tu, then ada Q&A session ke?
There'll be no Q&A. Don't worry.
So
Your
the
job is
timing is
your job is
7
just to
minutes.
deliver the speech.
Oh, the timing minimum 7 minutes or maximum? 7 minutes minimum or maximum?
7 minutes is the maximum.
Oh, okay.
Tapi if let's say you exceed 7 minutes, macam 7 minutes something sikit ke, 8 minutes ke, okay lah. Sometimes I do understand you want to get the speech done, or you want to, if you stop exactly at the 7 minute, then nanti banyak macam your speech is left hanging. And then sometimes when you practice, depan cermin betul-betul 7 minit ataupun less than that. Tapi on the actual day dengan nervousnya, dengan ininya, dengan itunya, dengan ya, nak ingat balik point, sometimes it will take more than 7 minutes. So I should understand that. Tapi tak nak
Okay.
terlalu lama, otherwise it will take up time of your friends punya masa pula. We don't want that to happen, yeah?
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. This is if we are talking about exceeding the limit, which is 7. What if ada tak minimum? Dia tak ada lah. Tapi don't make it too short lah. To me, if your speech is too short, marks will be too little, too je. There's no such thing as saya nak deliver satu speech within a minute, tapi I'll get full. Tak boleh. I don't think it works that way. Yeah. So kalau you punya masa when you present your speech tu kurang daripada 1 minit atau kurang daripada 2-3 minit, tapi you expect markah penuh macam kawan you yang betul-betul deliver 7 minit tu, I think it's unlikely lah for you to have the same mark, yeah? No matter how good you are with the language, right? Okay. Anything else before I change the slide to preparing your oral presentation pula? No question, yeah? Okay, good. Now, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, let's talk about what to do, things to do for persuasive speech. Now, let's talk about the speech itself lah. Okay, make sure that you have an introduction, make sure you have 3 main points, and make sure that you have a conclusion. So all in all, 5 paragraphs. 1 paragraph for introduction, 3 paragraphs for 3 main points, and 1 paragraph for the conclusion. Okay, and all of these must contain monos motivated sequence. Simple je. Ada tak kat sebelah tu, nampak? Must contain. And you go accordingly. Introduction, apa tadi? Yang number 2, number 3, visualization lah, apalah semua tu, mesti ikut according to the sequence. Yeah? Now, what do you need to have in your introduction? Of course, attention getter. And once you have attention getter, automatically you dah fulfill the first Monroe's motivated sequence, which is attention. So don't worry. Specific purpose mesti ada, topic plus central idea, and then you transition. Yang lain tu sama sahaja macam you buat pitching, macam you buat informative, sama sahaja. And then let's talk about the speech pula. Let's talk about the body content pula. So 3 main points, and each main point, 1 paragraph. So the first paragraph of your main point, first main point, you include need. And then second paragraph of your body content, satisfaction. Third paragraph, visualization. Okay. And then last but not least is to include action in your conclusion. So 5 paragraphs, 5 Monroe's motivated sequence. Just nice. Okay. Mr. E, can I have more than 5 paragraphs? Let's stick to 5 only. Alright. Bila kita beri you, I think, contohlah, I give you an analogy. Allah kata, subuh 2 rakaat. Boleh tak I nak buat subuh 3 rakaat? We never request for more. Tapi we always request for less. Betul tak kan? Tapi in this case, all I'm saying here is, if I ask you to come up with 5 paragraphs, let's stick to 5 paragraphs. Don't write more than 5. Yeah? Now, once you have actually crafted, structured your speech, next is for you to prepare a visual aid. Now, I'm not going to explain. Sama macam pitching, sama macam informative speech. A visual aid is a must. That depends on the topic. Kalau topik you macam ni, apa visual aids yang you nak pakai? You kena duduk dan strategize. Ya? Paling-paling tidak pun, pakai slides and put points in the slides. That itself is a visual aid. Tapi ada mungkin nak letak gambar lah, letak video, nak tunjukkan video kejap sedikit. Maybe nak show some graphs, some charts ke, images ke, tak kisah. Up to you. As long as the visual aids are in your speech in order to help the audience to understand better about the speech. Tapi must remember this. You must remember this. A visual aid is not the center of your speech. Dia bukan tumpuan penuh speech you. Siapa tumpuan penuh? You, the speaker. Because you will be assessed. Visual aid, if you have visual aid, you'll get marks. Itu saja. But that should not be the center of the speech. The center of your speech should be you. Because you are the speaker. Now, that is done. Next is for us to talk about the non-verbal gestures. Okay? Now, non-verbal gestures, your voice, your facial expression, your body gestures, pergerakan tubuh, semua ni penting. So when you deliver your speech, and since you'll be delivering in the classroom, semua tu saya akan nampak lah. Your voice, make sure that it is loud enough for me to listen because I'll be sitting at the back. I should be able to see your facial expression and body gestures, pergerakan tangan, tubuh dan sebagainya. Okay, so janganlah kaku kat depan, the one. And also, you must consider language because language is the biggest bulk of marks. Markah yang paling banyak kita allocate untuk speech presentation. So make sure that you pronounce the word correctly and check and always proofread your your draft or your speech draft. You boleh pakai all kind of this available online grammar checker to check your grammar. Yeah. Now let's talk about attire pula, because this is still a presentation. I want it to be something that is casual, not too formal, but not too casual. It has to be somewhere in between, semi-casual lah. Meaning to say, if you are a person who wears cap, pakai cap, you must remove your cap, because cap is considered not formal. So kita tak nak, because this is still a presentation. So you must appear professional in front of your lecturer and your friends when you do your presentation. Tapi I don't want it to be too formal pula, sampai pakai blazer, pakai suit. I don't want it to be that way. Ya, sebab bukan you dapat markah yang penuh pun atau banyak kalau when it comes to attire. As long as you wear something that is considered as, orang kata convenient and it suits with your presentation, then should be okay, right? Okay. Now let's talk about the presentation itself. Okay. Now make sure you come on time for your presentation. Now, since our class starts our class will start at 4:15. But we'll see lah. We'll see. If I can have everyone to come by 4 o'clock or at least 4-5 minutes lah. So we'll start the class at 4-5 minutes. Betul tak? We don't wait unless you really need time to, I don't know, prepare yourself before you start. Then I don't mind starting the class at 4:15. No problem at all. Yeah. After all, kita bukan ada ramai pun. Sikit tu sahaja yang ada dalam kelas. So hopefully that you'll be able lah. We can actually finish everything on time. Now, it will be carried out physically in the classroom. So no more online presentation ataupun video recording. Tak ada dah. You'll come to the class on the 18th of January and you'll start to do your presentation. Siapa akan present dulu, Mr. A? Since kita tak ramai kan, so I leave it to your discretion lah. You pergi undi antara you semua ni, siapa first, siapa second. So for all I know, I'll just mention, okay, first speaker, please go to the front, contohnya. And then next, macam tu. So before you begin your presentation, introduce yourself a bit so that I know who is that person. So that I can always cross-check with your name in my markah tu, ruang markah tu lah. Yes. So that I can give you marks. Yeah. And all students should come lah on the 18th of January. So please don't plan not to come. Now, what if you plan not to come? If it is an emergency and you have evidence to support your emergency, then it's acceptable. However, if it is not an emergency, you terlupa ke, benda tu bukan emergency pun, for some odd reasons lah, you kata inilah itulah apalah, macam-macam alasan, I will not accept. And since saya tak accept, you akan hilang markah lah untuk yang ni. This is your final assessment, yeah. And your presentation should not be more than 7 minutes. Let's keep to 7 minutes sahaja. Kan panjang sangat nanti kadang, takut kita tak cukup masa. Okay, 7 minutes should be enough. Alright? Okay. Any other questions that you like to ask before I end today's class? Before I not explain lah, I show to you the descriptors. Apa benda yang kita akan ni